Allora, il professore praticamente lavora all'Istituto di ricerche letterarie. Scusate, ma oggi sono un po' stanco, quindi mi mancano e oggi vi farà una lezione molto bella sulla letteratura femminile, femminista, soprattutto contemporanea, e vi parlerà di alcune autrici contemporanee. Noi lo scorso anno in letteratura abbiamo fatto proprio un corso specifico. Quest'anno invece, quindi lui concluderà un po' quello che abbiamo fatto lo scorso anno, però è molto interessante perché sono autrici contemporanee, femministe, e vi parlerà anche della situazione appunto delle donne in Polonia.
Grazie mille. And now we are switching to English, and I'll take my jacket off because it's very warm today, okay? If you don't mind.
Così già ti devi stare in inglese, ok?
I don't speak Italian.
Posso dirci una volo posto.
The title of Gretkowska's novel Parisian Tarot makes a clear allusion to one of the eldest tarot desks, graphic versions, called Marseille Tarot. And this is not the one. This deck is not only still in use, reprinted constantly, but also, according to many specialists, it is the only deck that depicts or enables one to get into the archetypical dimension. Sally Nichols, who will be our major guide in this lecture, a Jungist, whose major work, as I will argue, was most probably studied by Olga Tokarczuk, says on a few occasions that the Marseille deck has the advantage of not being designed by one single person, and therefore it shows the collective archetypes. It was never accompanied by any explanatory text, leaving it all to visual contemplation, and it shows many facets of a given archetype. Gretkowska puts a similar idea into a conversation between the main characters in the novel. All of them involved in tarot. Xavier, a French painter and visual artist, decides to paint his own tarot deck, which would be a faithful repetition of the Marseille deck, and at the same time it would bear his own auctorial stamp, an impossible task, most probably. However, this is another explanation of the novel's title. Xavier's wife, Charlotte, Polish, who is also the main narrator most of the time, is a specialist on tarot and the spiritus movens of the whole plot. The two hold a discussion of the idea of painting all the characters on the cards with one model, Michal. Charlotte, that would be megalomaniac tarot, not Marseille one. Michal as an angel, Michal as a devil, Michal dressed, Michal naked as a male, as a female, as a neuter. From what you said, there is no point in painting other tarots than the Marseille one, because you change some details and you blur the archetype. You can't use the altered tarot for meditation, but you can use it for fortune telling. An idea of meditating the archetypes is different from using it to tell the future. In the editions of the novel, the publishers actually reprint in black and white the full trumps or major arcana of the Marseille version. narrative, and sometimes even poetry, was next to clairvoyance manuals. If a client spotted in this colorful mosaic a book entitled Parisian Tarot, flipped it through and saw the pictures of tarot cards, they could buy this book not only as a novel, but also, even in the first place, as a manual. This might also explain why this novel had numerous reprints. Okay, so now we have the novel. The novel is set most of the time in Paris, and these phenomena relate mostly to French and more broadly Western European culture. But there are a few places when the narrator, Charlotta, who is half Polish, half French, has a flashback from communist times in Poland, and also she recalls a recent visit to Poland under transformation. 89, 90, 91 maybe. She also receives letters from her Polish friends which depict transformation, and also one of the major characters, Michał, is a Polish expatriate. The Polish transformation and its collapse of great narration and a certain Central European post-Soviet postmodernism is a topic in the background of the novel. There is no synthesis or comparative study of the differences between the Parisian mosaic and postmodernity and the Polish instant nascendi one in the novel. This is understandable, though. The novel was written, as I count, around 1992. Gretkowska lived in Paris at the time. It was too early to see the Western traces and the original Slavonic input in the ongoing transformation, especially from a distance. In all her three first novels set in Paris, Gretkowska was trying to show what it might look like eventually, also in Poland, in the multi-culti mosaic, the polyphony of narratives of which she was a fan. So, Parisian Tarot can be called contemporary Sylwa współczesna, pojęcie Ryszarda Nydża. This genre is not known in the English literary criticism. However, it is quite used in the Polish literary studies. In English, the word potpourri seems to be a similar concept. Gretkowska's novel does not have a traditional plot as an organized chronological sequence from A to Z, so to speak. It is made of small scenes, scraps of life, and includes places with subgenres notably different from the main narrative style. It also includes rereading places, just as in the traditional Polish Silvarello, where you had the diaristic note next to a recipe for a cake. The reproduction of the Marseille deck, Tarot, is just one aspect of this mixture. As I have said above, the main spring or umbrella that organizes or encompasses the whole book is Tarot. Now, even though the dominant stylistic figure is a fragment, there is actually an interplay with the complete, unabridged, or original story and fragments. There are two places in the novel where Gretkowska incorporated the explanation of all the 22 tarot trumps or major arcana in a sequence that is from A to Z, not like shuffled like this, right? And I spoiled everything. Okay. Maybe not so much. Just a sec. Because it's a sequence. Right. So there is the idea of going from A to Z. A narration, a complete narration. Which means from 0 to 21. Why? Because the first card, the Fool, has a name 0, but it also sometimes is first this is the idea that Italo Calvino put into work, because in this novel, The Castle of Crossed Destinies, people magically lose their ability to talk. They become mute, and they meet in a castle in the night, and they have to communicate. There is only one thing: there is tarot cards. So they use tarot cards to tell their stories to everybody, and everybody understands. And this is utopian because tarot is not so universal, and everyone can understand it differently. If you go to one fortune teller, they will see 3 cards, and they will tell you they mean this, 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 and this. And another fortune teller will say, no, it means this, 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 and this. Okay? So this is very individual and personal, how you read it. In a way, you have contact with your cards. So one fortune teller will tell you this and this will happen to you on the basis of 3 different cards, and another one will pick 3 different cards and tell you the same thing. You know what I mean? It's like there's no universal meaning of tarot, and there's no universal language. And the idea of universal language was the idea of Italo Calvino. I think ironically, because it's postmodern, but Gretkowska does not believe in universal meanings of tarot. So, I believe I know the source of Gretkowska's knowledge of tarot. I think it's a book published just 1 year earlier, or 2 years earlier, by Jan Witold Suliga. Jan Witold Suliga has a PhD in geography in Łódź. Tarot, karty, które wróżą. This was like the first main book about tarot after communism. This is probably one of the sources that Olga Tokarczuk consulted as well. Let me compare some of the moments as samples from Gretkowska with the explanations from Suliga's textbook. Suliga's are more expanded, and they sometimes use synonymous words. That's why I put the word rewritten, that Gretkowska rewrote, just copy-pasted almost. Take Trump 10, the Wheel of Fortune. Yes, let's take a look at Wheel of Fortune. Not in the Marseille version, but so this is the Wheel of Fortune. We have 4 animals, and obviously you can also turn it upside down, and then it means that you have to wait for a longer moment for your fortune to come, or you're in debt, for instance, financially not very well, etc., etc., and everything is going to turn, so you have to wait a moment. When it happens like this, you're lucky, okay? So this is what Suliga says about this card. Change, transformation, happy solution, inevitable entangling in actions that end well, activity, sudden change of fate, happiness, winning, prosperity, good turn of fate, using the chance one receives, luck in business, in marriage, in work, influx of money, lucky happenstance, explosion of emotions, sexual activity, stamina and concentration. When it's reversed, upside down, unfavorable change of fate, bad luck, weakened will, difficulties, conflicts, a sequence of unhappy incidents, defeat, setback, impossibility of avoiding trouble, stagnancy, inanition, difficulties in sexual relations, cruelty, wrathlessness, vindictiveness, suspiciousness, jealousy. So as you can see, one card has plenty of meanings, and it really must be very personal for a fortune teller to know which of them to pick in a given situation. Of course, it depends on the context of other cards and the question, but it's a lot, and it's not always the same, right? There is a difference between saying, "Oh, I see that you have a little money," and a difference in saying, "I see that you are not very sexually active right now." Okay. So this is Suliga, and let's take a look what Gretkowska puts into the words of into the mouth of Charlotte in her novel. happiness, prosperity, happy solution. You see, happy solution, happy solution. Reversed card, inanition, dissipation, difficulties. So it's almost the same. You have inanition here, you have difficulties here, you have difficulties in sexual relations. It's almost the same. It's like seems inspired. This shows that in the regular position, all the concepts in Gretkowska are literally taken, although selected from Sulika. While in the reversed position, she quotes two and adds one paraphrase. Participation seems different to any definition given by Sulika when considered alone. However, in the context of them all, it seems to inscribe to the same chain of meanings, most closely to weakened will probably. And this might be her personalized meaning. Also, the first and more personal journey through the meaning of the trance might be at least partially drawn from Sulika's book. Sulika describes a journey of the soul through these 22 archetypes. Okay? Certainly, my point is not to compare all these quotations and paraphrases. I leave it to some curious readers. The question of how she made this, from what she composed her work, is not irrelevant, neither it is crucial. On the one hand, my comparison somewhat certifies Gretkowska's doubtful competence and erudition in tarot, and it also confirms my idea of Silvarero, this genre which mixes many different things, like our Polish bigos, which have many different ingredients. So we also have this kind of writing that mixes everything. Now, the novel shows rather a dispersion of meanings and fragments of a story, not the whole chronological story. I already said that. The construction of the novel does not reflect the trance from 0 or 1 to 122, as they lay in a newly bought deck. When you buy cards, you have them in a sequence order like this. It shows shuffled cards. Shuffled like, what is it? Okay. The tarot told me that you think that I'm friendly. Did it lie? So shuffled, right? Paris in the novel is a shuffled story. It's a mosaic. It's a potpourri. The postmodern era is also a shuffled deck of cards. Last but not least, Poland in transition, 89, 90, 91, etc., is also cards that were shuffled. Or simply they fell on the floor and just like that composed the story. Charlotta says once to me about tarot cards, just imagine that they are pages wrenched off from the book of world creation. And also, when I look at the cards, I have an impression of looking at a mirror broken into tiny pieces. Each of them shows a fragment of my figure. The construction of the novel is somewhat duplex. There is the evident presence of tarot, and there is also a hidden scheme or plan of the novel, which moreover invites the reader to perform a hopscotch reading. A hopscotch like in the Julio Cortázar's novel, his famous novel. This also explains why it's a postmodern novel. I would like to show it this double coding, one coding which is simple and one coding which is esoteric, with the archetype of witch. So on the surface, the novel shows a modern witch, Charlotta, and her accessories, rather as an archetypical magician. So the magician is a male in tarot, okay? But in this case, Charlotta looks like a magician. But it also has a hidden side of true wisdom. The wiedźma in Polish comes from the woman who knows. And this is her. This is the archetype of a woman who knows, who is educated. The high priestess unite the energies of the magician and the popes and consolidate their positive aspects. Say Suliga. Up to some point, the former aspect of the construction, the overt or the explicit, complies with what is pop and good marketing in this novel. But let's see some examples. First, what is explicit in this novel? I have already mentioned a few places, including the discussions, paintings of Tarot, and also the fact of giving the textbook meanings. Now I would like to mention three extremely interesting places. The first is a long and erudite discussion of the Trump 18, the moon. Ciao. This is the moon. I obviously don't love this card, but few people do. Okay, so that's the moon. There's a longer discussion of it in the novel, and there are other two places when you can read this book as a book of archetypes. Both these kinds of readings were used by other authors too. Michał and Thomas is another character in the novel, went to the cinema to see David Lynch's Twin Peaks series, 1990, okay? So we all know Twin Peaks as a very wicked story. So they went to see David Lynch's Twin Peaks, and they tell you should see it, Charlotte. It's Lynch's movie about Tarot. Michał claims, and the longer explanation follows. I am not denying the authenticity of this gesture of either Gretkowska, either real people who inspired her characters. Nonetheless, I have to say that this lady, and here comes Italo Calvino, has also a literary shape. So I have a discussion of Calvino. In Gretkowska's novel, Thomas points to this idea, crossing Michał's reading of Twin Peaks through Tarot and showing how the same movie can be read as a reading of the myth of Daphne. So you see, if you employ archetypical reading, you can use Tarot to do that, but you can also look in Greek mythology as well, or if you're very familiar with Indian mythology, you can use Indian mythology, etc., etc. This is basically the point of Carl Gustav Jung, that all myths boil down to basic archetypes. Concluding, honestly, I'm telling you, Thomas raised his hand in the gesture of blessing. The mind strays also among regularities. Any myth, be it Greek, Egyptian, or any quotidian experience, can be shown with the use of Tarot. And so what? Nothing, completely nothing. It only proves your erudition. So he says, even if Twin Peaks is about Tarot, what sense does it make? None. Also, this gesture of rereading classical myths through Tarot has its tradition. There is a deck with a long book explanations called Mythical Tarot, published in the 80s. I have this book. It uses famous Greek myths. When we compare Gretkowska's account with Calvino's utopian idea, however, we see clearly that these readings seem accurate and even brilliant only if they come with commentaries. Also, importantly, ostensive ones. Ostensive means when you show the card. Because if you don't show it and you just tell the story of it, it's not as evident. So in this mythical Tarot, the Trump 3, the Empress, is shown as Jocasta. Laius is the Emperor, right? So you can do it like this with Greek myths. The hidden dimension of Tarot's presence in the novel is an invitation to find one's own aspects of the cards in the story. Just like Michał and Thomas do with Twin Peaks. Unlike Tokarczuk novel, as we will see, here the aspects of cards are almost exclusively archetypes. Another difference is that, as we will see, Tokarczuk almost always separates like we said, that Charlotta is a bit like a magician, but also like the Hierophant, the Popes. You are very rarely just one thing. Different cards describe you. For instance, basically, I am usually described by Tarot as the Pope, not the Emperor. But sometimes also it shows me, well, depending on a day, but sometimes it also shows me as, I lost my card. We don't have this card. Well, anyway, sometimes it shows me in different cards. Sometimes it shows me as her as well. Sometimes when I'm more artistic, when I teach, it shows me as the Pope. But when I'm an artist, I'm her, because she is a woman who is potentially pregnant in giving birth. So artists give birth to their works, right? So that's why. And this is a quotation from Gretkowska. Once I am wise and cautious like the hermit, on another occasion I become the malicious baby monkey, jumping over the wheel of fortune. I shuffle the cards, says Charlotte. So I will point just to a few of possibilities of finding this hidden message in Tarot Paris. Michał is described explicitly by Charlotte as the magician because he is a philosopher. Moreover, he studies Descartes, Cartesius, the father of French rational philosophy, and skillfully joins it with the study of Tarot. However, he experiences a combination of the archetypes of Charm 6, which is the lovers, which is certainly the archetype when you fell in love or you're in a couple. Okay, so he experiences this, and 12, the Hanged Man. So if you have a combination of lovers and the Hanged Man, it means that your love is put on hold. Okay, so maybe you're loving somebody who doesn't love you back, or you're loving somebody who is in a relationship and you have to wait till they get out of that relationship. Okay, something like that. And he is left by his wife, who chose another man, and now he passes a period of standstill and introspection. So he is kind of inert. He can't open. He is living his divorce. Okay. Eventually, Thomas takes him to a cloister like this one, and they both experience the hermit, which I, by the way, lost. No, here it is. So they experience the hermit. This is the hermit. Michel, a background artist, a Satanist, represents the devil. This is the devil. And the fact that he appears as a pure one-card archetype is due to his background presence. An interesting case is Gabriela, who is Charlotte's friend, and she's a French famous writer who specializes in occultism and at present studies necrophilia. Because Gretkowska, as I said, was a writer of shock. So, in another of her novels, a woman works in a cabaret and she has two clitorises. Charlotte's friend, French famous writer, right? She represents the charm of death, 13, this one, which is usually perceived as a state or situation or process archetype, not as a description of personality. It refers to unconventional people gifted with vision and very independent, etc., etc. So we have, I will skip it a bit. We have uses of many cards in this story. We can read it like this, like they read Twin Peaks. Okay. Now, throughout most of the novel, sorry. So basically, I won't read it. I will make it shorter. Basically, the story that they read tarot every time, all days. They study it, also Michał. And one thing they don't notice is how depressed Michał is. One day they come back to their apartment and Michał is dead because he committed suicide. Basically that's the whole concept, because it shows that you can be a master of tarot, you can read it perfectly and not see something so obvious, not even in the cards, in the life. So that is the hidden message of this novel, of this novel of shock, in a way, right? I will skip it. Aha, this is already Tokarczuk. So, Tokarczuk, it's a very different novel. It's called The Journey of the People of the Book. And it was not translated to English nor French. It's her first book from 1993, written in the 80s. Some remarks on Tokarczuk and tarot. So she finished this novel in 1989 and published it in 1993. In 1987, Olga Tokarczuk completed her degree in psychology in the University of Warsaw, and she was a specialist on Carl Gustav Jung, and she worked as a psychologist. Collaterally, she was involved in the alternative group and center and magazine Mandragora. Mandragora is a very esoteric mythical tree. The milieu of Mandragora was composed of academic scholars and free thinkers, oftentimes contesting the dominant Western ideas of science and spirituality, and focusing on themes such as humanist psychology, esoteric Eastern philosophies, ecology. Among the authors invited was Jerzy Prokopiuk, a modern Polish agnostic and Jung's translator. And her novel also has references to Gnosis, not only to tarot. I mentioned about Suliga, the author of the first Polish professional book on tarot. He has a PhD in geography, as I said. He was in contact with Prokopiuk. Suliga's vision of tarot makes use of some of the ideas that also Prokopiuk studied. It's complicated, but it's all connected. I'm trying to say that although Suliga's book on tarot was published a year later than Tokarczuk officially finished her novel, she might have known Suliga personally and participated in discussions of this book before it appeared in print. There are connections between her novel and Suliga's book. Another, and perhaps even more important source, is Sally Nichols's book Jung and Tarot, An Archetypal Journey, which was first published in 1980 and then republished. I have the republished version at home. Jung himself was an expert of alchemy, but he also wrote studies of I Ching and astrology, which he was very familiar, and also he knew some numerology. And in his lectures, which he never published, he mentioned tarot. He also coined the concept of synchronicity, later elaborated by his student Marie-Louise von Franz, which is an attempt to explain how divination is possible with the use of archetypes. Basically, the idea of synchronicity explains that if, for instance, I do a reading of your future, I am recognizing in a way your archetype. I'm not reading in the stars, or I am not a prophet. I'm recognizing more or less your archetype, and in the context of your current situation, an archetype would act like this and this and this. So this is basically synchronicity simplified. As far as I know, until now, no literary critic has ever pointed to tarot in Tokarczuk's novel. The most obvious sign of tarot's hidden presence is the division into 22 chapters. Just like you go through the whole journey like this, and you end it again on the position of 0, you start again. New journey, okay? That's why it can be the first and it might be the last. He also has the quality of being attached to any other card. So he's this tricky archetype. Nichols says of the Fool, his designation is 0, he has no fixed position. He strides along at the top, looking down on the other cards. Since he has no pigeonhole, the Fool is free to spy on the other characters. And in a different place she adds, since he has no fixed number, he is free to travel at will, often upsetting the established order with his prowess. And also Suliga comments, number 0 implies that if you stick him to any other card, the Fool acquires its qualities. He can be found anywhere and everywhere, depending how his fate turn. The letter Aleph, this is from Kabbalah, this is Hebrew. Aleph, the first cry, the first word one phonates, refers to innocence, infantility, to the state of unconsciousness of one's own individual I. When the Fool meets the card, the world, he billows into a human whom we can call the old child. Okay? So the whole journey makes you a young child or an old child. And this paragraph from Suliga actually sounds like a summary of Tokarczuk's novel. They are a perfect match. The Fool of the novel, with whom everything starts with the chapter 0, and with whom everything ends, is called gauche. Gauche in French means left. Like you have in Paris, you have rive gauche and rive droite. So gauche is always kind of associated with something alternative and right with something official, institutional. Okay. But also in esotericism, if you for instance read cards for yourself, you should use your left hand. You pick cards with the left hand. If you do it for somebody else, you use your right hand. So and also the left hand and left part of your body is associated with esotericism, and the right one with rationality, with the brain. So here in this novel, Gauche was born mute, and his great dream is to be able to speak. In chapter 21, he, the only one from the whole quest who survived, except another quest, finally speaks. Gauche, said Gauche in the garden to his dog. I am Gauche. Why to a dog? Can you see a dog? There's a dog. The Fool has a dog, okay? So the Fool goes the whole journey through the mountains of France with a dog. And finally, in the end of his journey, says his name to a dog. Thus, he belongs from the archetype of puer eternus to the archetype of puer senex. Puer eternus, the eternal boy, puer senex, eternal, a young old man, like me. This is the hidden frame of the novel, the one that opens into a different direction and dimension. On the surface, the topic of this novel is the quest for a book. It's in the early 17th century, and there is a group of aristocrats that go for a journey to find the book. They are alchemists, so they believe that this book will tell them how to create gold. But so this book only Gauche finds in the end, because everyone during this journey dies. So he finds it and leaves it. So this is the end of the story, right? They start from 0. Only he comes to the conclusion of it. He finds the book, but he's not interested in it. He's an analphabet as well, so he leaves it. So he comes back to the state of 0. Okay. Tokarczuk says in the last chapter, Gauche is not an important character in this story. Just like all the other characters that appear here. Even the story itself is not important. either destroy it or leave it. It was, and now it isn't. So basically, in the end of the novel, she says, this book was about a travel and a journey. This journey made no sense. This book makes no sense. The story was not important. Okay? very marketing point of view. So the surface story might not be important. I agree. But that is because there is also this hidden story. And there it is the way in the journey which is important. The journey is important, not achieving the aim, not finding the book is important. Going, right? So here, Fool is our guide. There's another fascinating concurrence between Sulika and Tokarczuk's journey of the people of the book. Sulika included a subchapter where he explains the esoteric journey of self-discovery in Tarot and through Tarot. This subchapter is entitled The Fool and the Pearl. Alluding to the old Gnostic text, Hymn of the Pearl, Sulika shows the individuation as the fool's quest for the pearl. In our book, it's the book. The book is the pearl. So each human, just like the fool, has a sack on their back. This is how he starts his journey. He has a sack, very small sack, with little things. Omnia mea mecum porto, said the Romans. Yes, everything that I own, I have in my sack. So he has a sack on his back, and at the bottom of his sack there is the pearl. This is the symbol of the mission. So he starts his journey to look for the pearl, but he has this pearl already in his sack. That's exactly the concept that Tokarczuk shows. In 2001, Tokarczuk published a beautiful short essay, Lalka i Perła, The Doll and the Pearl. An Jungian and Gnostic reading of the doll Lalka, the great novel by Bolesław Prus, in the context of the Hymn of the Pearl. So she reads Prus in the context of the Gnostic hymn, just like in Gretkowska, we saw reading Twin Peaks with Tarot. It's the same method. Tokarczuk defines the doll, Lalka, as an inner journey. I wish to stress that the hidden point of her journey in her debut novel is not the book, at least not the book that the group in the novel is looking for, but the Fool and his Pearl. But what book actually? Even the title of Tokarczuk's novel, Podróż ludzi księgi, hides two keywords connected to Tarot. We have already seen how Tarot uses the concept of journey, or quest, if you will. Sulika writes on that. And the new title of Sally Nichols's book makes it even more evident, the archetypal journey. There is a long tradition of calling Tarot a book, Księga Tota, the book of Tot. We saw one instance of such use in Gretkowska. In one version, this book is Torah, because you can read Tarot backwards. In French, T, last T is mute, so it's Tarot. So you can read it as Torah, or you can also make a square of word combinations. Sulika writes, Rota, Taro, Orat, Ator. Rota, giraffe. Taro, Tarot. Orat, makes, speak. Ator. This is the Egyptian goddess of Hathor, right? Rota, Taro, Orat, Ator. So if you rotate Tarot, it makes the Egyptian goddess of illumination speak. There is another tradition of calling Tarot the Book of Tot. Tot was another Egyptian god of wisdom, art, and magic. Who would be Hermes? Who would be the magician? This would be Tot. let's think that they are looking for a book on alchemy, but it's a wrong book. The good book is the book of Tarot. They leave it, but they don't know it in the novel. So the construction of Tokarczuk's novel, we have each chapter corresponds to a different card, a collateral trump. So this is not like Gretkowska that it's all mixed. It's a sequence, it's sequential. So the presence of the consecutive trumps in the chapters is of various kinds. Sometimes the archetype is used, sometimes it is the basic Victorian setting, sometimes it is just one small detail from the tarot picture, etc., etc. Sometimes it is not exactly the archetype, but some divinatory meaning. Sometimes a psychological description of a character, and sometimes an action. Therefore, I decided to create a schematic chart point to these relations in the places in the novel. One thing has to be said. These allusions to tarot cards do not constitute or build a hidden alternate text, like a palimpsest that you scrap the official text and then you have here another text. No. It is like a hermetic Kabbalistic reading procedure when you pick some phrases and rewrite them. And this is the hidden story. So I prepared this. I won't go through it all right now, but you can take a look. How about we do a game? You pick a number from 0 to 21, and we will look at it in the chart. And enjoy it. Huh? 9. Okay. So we have 9. The Hermit, which I already showed, but I will show again. It's important to be looking at it. So we have the Hermit. And quotations from the novel. The ability to see things that remained in the shadow. As we can see, the Hermit walks in the darkness with just one lamp. Okay? So he sees shadows of things, but he still has this ability of seeing the truth. Like in Platon myth. You're in the cave, but you can recognize somehow the true essence of something. Abandoned monastery in Uterus Mundi, in a place not indicated on any other map. This is a place from the novel. So the journey, the travelers arrive at something called Uterus Mundi, world's utero, and there is an abandoned monastery, like this one, but with nobody, because the hermit is lonely, he's always alone, he's a solitary character. The sun as an enemy, it's another motive in this chapter. The hermit lives in the night, obviously, he's the one who writes things at 2 o'clock at night when everybody else sleeps, right? A quotation, in a mature human, there lives a child all the time, and it brings the whole truth about the human. Loneliness, the experience of forlornness, waiting for attention and love, anxiety without a reason. Here, a sage, great politician, common man, anyone begins. So the sage, because the hermit is also a sage. He's this lonely character who knows pretty much, but is not going on the street telling everyone, hey, look, I'm very informed, well informed, I will tell you the truth about things. He's the one that you have to go to to use his wisdom, okay? Of course, sometimes we come to you to give lectures, but and another aspect of it is ill eyes, because the Marcus in the novel discovers that he has ill eyes. Obviously, one of the meanings of this trap is ill eyes. If you read tarot for medicine, okay, ill eyes, this is completely understandable. If he spends most of his time in the darkness with just a bad lamp. So you can see there's plenty of connection see a lot. Any more, or we go next? Devil. Okay. And it's not very much in this case that I found. So we have the devil. In another we have incapacitation as addiction or dependence, and also a deception. So this is not so much, but as you can see, in some places there are lots of meanings that I found. Maybe there are more. I just didn't find. So this is the whole chart I prepared for publication when this book is published. Now, is there any more important meaning to that? One of the more general readings or meanings of the surface story in the novel might be the forthcoming breakthrough in the epistemological systems of Western culture. Very clever sounding, but we have something that you all know very well from Italian culture. This is late Renaissance late Baroque collapsing into Enlightenment. Late Baroque collapsing into Enlightenment. This is something that Tokarczuk is very interested in, because she's very interested in the Enlightenment, but an alternative Enlightenment. If you read her novel Księgi Jakubowa, which you like because it's very long and not particularly, I don't know, let's say. So it's about a Jew called Frank, who creates an alternative Jewish community with alternative Judaism, let's say, which is a different version of Enlightenment, European Enlightenment and mysticism. So she's interested in this Enlightenment, not in the rational Enlightenment, not in the progress Enlightenment, not in the bright Enlightenment, but in the dark Enlightenment. Tokarczuk is always contesting Western knowledge, science, epistemologies, only she does it in a very elegant way. That's why I said she's like a classicist, because she writes, let's face it, simply. She's not complicated like Gretkowska or Izabela Mosca when we come to that. In a moment. But so her writing is elegant, plain. I even dare say that she has little style. I prefer writers who have a very abundant style, an explosive style. And Tokarczuk is very well in the frame. So, but that's her writing style. It's something else, and her thinking is something else. He uses this simple writing to express her ideas that are rational, alternative to Western. That's why tarot as well. Right, so this is more or less what I say in this place. While the most general reading of the novel with the employment of the esoteric subcode can be formulated as the individuation process with the use of different archetypes. Good for a title. Some more specific readings can be delivered as well. I am particularly interested in the feminist reading with the reference to tarot in the novel. Because it's a male journey in this novel. Most of the charms that we have here represent either masculine or feminine energy. This guy is neutral. Both sexes, right? But this one is a male character. She is a female, okay? Even if we take a card like the moon, she is described as a feminine because esoterically and also in mythologies, moon was usually connected to women, while the sun was connected to men. Because the sun is the sun of reason, rationality, right? And the moon is intuition. And it's also a projection of men seeing women as somebody that they cannot read because they are not rational, right? They don't use all the light of reason. So can see, these are the dominantly masculine charms, feminine charms, etc. And some are androgynous. It cannot be said that tarot does not represent femininity sufficiently. Certainly the masculine or feminine quality of the